Welcome to the Autistic Culture Podcast Advocacy Edition. In these episodes, we tackle the issues that matter most to autistic people.
Each week, we share our insights and the experiences of our guests on how to live authentically and thrive as autistics.
I'm Dr. Angela Kingdon, the linguistic autistic.
And I'm Matt Lowry, licensed psychological practitioner. Let's dive into strategies for living your best, most authentically autistic life.
Episode 80, Movies with Balls. Well, hey, Matt.
Hey, Angela.
You're laughing already. Did you like my title for this episode?
Yeah.
Because you like movies with balls?
Yes,
you just like a pun. You like a pun.
I do. Yes.
Obviously, this references movies with the sports balls because we love a sport around
Indeed.
here.
I also just love the fact that we just came off of Vampire Week, and this is a good segue into werewolves with Teen Wolf.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's, man,
oh my God.
We've got all kinds of neat stuff to talk about today because I am a movie lover. I do love many movies. I don't understand like the physics of Armageddon or the rules of the karate tournament and Karate Kid, because it seems like they were pretty well explained, and then Ralph Macchio violates them all. But here we go.
Here we go.
I don't know.
Movies with
We'll go with
Balls,
this.
as you know, but our listeners may not yet, is actually the name of a book that I am recommending everyone rush to the store and buy. But after this episode, you're going to want to have a copy. It is by Kyle Bandujo and Rick Bryson. We have Rick Bryson who will be with us shortly. So I want to set this up for you. But this book is fantasy memorabilia. We love a museum.
Oh God, yes.
What about a fantasy museum? That's
the thing. I love one of the things about the new house. I'm setting up a relic room with stuff from fictional, from movies and stories and everything. And I love fictional memorabilia. It's so cool. It's bringing the fictional into the real world.
Yeah. And obviously, we talk a lot about lightsabers or, replica time machines that we might have. But when there are movies that have sports in them, so like a fictional movie that has a game or an event like in Karate Kid, right? You never think about, or before I saw this book, had never thought about like the ticket stubs. What about the rule book for the sports game that's going on, or the behind the scenes stuff? Because obviously that stuff isn't real. The props people don't have to make it unless it's actually in the movie, unless maybe you did have to make it. So if you are the kind of fan who cheers every time you watch Rocky beat Drago, or you remember the whole "if you build it, they will come," this is the book for you. As you probably know, Matt and I are not actually huge sports people, but we do love a movie, and God knows we love memorabilia, especially when it is historically accurate.
Yes. The effort, the time that goes into. I love a conversation about kerning on fonts. So yeah, how much effort goes into
conversations about kerning.
Yes. Yeah,
and fonts in general.
Yeah. The decision to make things as they are is bottom-up processing at its finest, because you look at all the details. Why would the people in the world make the decisions that they made? And because, again, you can't just go through and have every ticket to every event look exactly the same, because then you'd be Ticketmaster and that would be boring. We can't have that.
That'd be boring.
No.
Well, even Ticketmaster, I will find, because I believe that tickets to anything should be bookmarks.
Of course.
And so
yes.
I will pick up an old book, and it's like a little time capsule, because you could see what the dot matrix printers were like in 1984.
Oh, that's nice.
So we love the attention to detail. We love the idea of recreating the memorabilia, but movies are sort of their own form of autistic therapy. Here is a little snippet, Matt, from the book for you to read. This is from the introduction.
Movies with Balls was inspired by a straightforward question. What would the tickets from our favorite sports flicks look like? Rocky versus Drago, the 2004 Las Vegas Dodgeball Invitational. Oh yes, oh god, yes. Um, well done, well done. Okay, so sorry, got distracted. The 2004 Las Vegas Dodgeball Invitational, the infamous Chiefs versus Bulldogs 1977 Federal League Championship. Yes. Initially, we just wanted to create physical, tangible tickets for events we would have loved to have had a front row seat at, rather than just being confined to a chair in a movie theater or a living room couch. Oh, you're
Yeah,
speaking my language. Oh,
right?
that's so good.
There's so much to unpack in terms of autistic culture there, because I think a lot of people just watch the movie and then enjoy the movie and move on. And we're like, oh my God, what were the tickets like? What were the chairs like? Were the chairs wider then? Was there more room in the seats? What kind of drinks did they have? Was that original Coke? Did they have Crystal Pepsi at that event? Like, we want to know everything. Okay, so keep going here. Your favorite sports movie.
Your favorite sports movie is like a warm blanket. If that blanket smelled like beer and popcorn, well done.
Accurate.
These are the movies we click on right away when we see they're on cable. They're the why don't we just watch this again option when picking a movie to wind down the night. Yes. If you've ever woken up at 3 a.m. to the DVD menu of Bull Durham blaring on repeat, why is the DVD menu music so loud? I don't know. That's it. Yes.
We asked that question.
Then you're a movies with balls kind of person.
Yeah. Now, it should
Yes.
have said Blu-ray, because I know you have moved beyond DVDs. You have quite the Blu-ray collection there, Matt. But
Several thousand, yes.
okay, what I loved about this is just the regulation that you get for movies, especially
Oh
when it's
God,
a
yes.
movie you already know. And then also when, so my 16th birthday, this is like guilty confession. My 16th birthday, I was very, very homesick. I was super dysregulated. And I put on Top Gun because
Uh,
it was 1989. And I came up with a plan to watch Top Gun 16 times in a row on my 16th birthday.
oh, very nice.
So that's what I did. So I have it memorized. I don't even like Tom Cruise or Top Gun, but I can tell you every little detail. And one of the things I did, I think on the seventh watch, was I counted the American flags. I was living in Australia at the time and I really, really missed home. And I counted the American flags. Like, that is what you get to do when you watch a movie on repeat. So
I,
yes.
I like that. If many people said yes, I watched Top Gun 16 times on repeat, I can now tell you exactly how that shirtless volleyball scene went. That's one thing. But you
Right?
counted the
That
American
is true.
flags. There you
Well,
go.
that's because that's where I was right then. I was missing America.
Yeah.
There are some rules with this book. You said the same thing I said when I told you about this book. You said, oh, like Rudy? No,
Yeah.
not like Rudy, my friends. Rudy is real. These are just fictional movies. So 26 sports movies, the greatest games never played. And that ties in nicely with our feelings about fictional characters. We know friends, family, and fictional characters. Those are the ones in this book. Here is a little bit more. Go ahead and finish up this introduction, and then we will get Rick on here to tell us the behind the scenes.
These are the teams we love as much as real life teams. Frankly, we probably love these sports movie teams even more than our real life teams because they don't let us down even postseason. We also analyze and break down. We also analyze and break down the gameplay in these climactic moments. Movies with Balls dives into critical thinking, pondering important questions such as how exactly did Jake Taylor from Major League beat out that bunt single to walk off the Yankees. That is an excellent question. Oh, Caddyshack, yes, is Caddyshack's Carl Speckler actually a good groundskeeper, a great greenskeeper? Would
Important people
Happy
need to know.
yeah. Would Happy Gilmore actually have scraped up enough short game skills to pair with his prodigious driving to compete in professional golf? Excellent question. One that I've actually asked. In Movies with Balls, we debate the sports movie Hall of Fame candidates of multi-movie headliners like Woody Harrelson and Adam Sandler. Oh, good. And we wonder if White Goldman's lawyers from Dodgeball would have ever passed the bar exam.
Right? This is so fun. And I am so excited to introduce you to the mastermind behind Movies with Balls, Rick Bryson. He is an art director, a graphic designer for more than 20 years. He's in Greenville, South Carolina. But right now, he is with us on the pod. We are so excited you're here. Rick, welcome and congratulations on this amazing accomplishment. Cheers on getting the book out there.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Matt, Angela, it's nice to meet both of you guys. That intro was fantastic. Fantasy memorabilia, I love that term. And I think this is going to be fun. This is, most people really want to talk to me about the sports or the movies, but nobody really wants to know about the typefaces or the fonts or the how did you make the ticket stub?
Seriously.
And that's the stuff that I really geek out about. So I think I'm so happy that you guys found me.
Okay, so how did this begin? And were you, like many of us, doing this alone on your computer, on your TI-99 4A? Is this a thing? Like, where did you come up with this idea?
I need to know where to order it because I tried to order it on Amazon and I can't find it. So
we'll get to
check
the show notes. Check the show notes. You can pre-order it.
Yeah, because
I think it's out now. It is now out. You do not need to pre-order.
It released 2 days ago.
Oh, congratulations! Oh, wow, we are
on the 24th
on the cusp of the newness. Oh, awesome!
Well, I will also go ahead and say this is my first ever podcast, so I'm excited that I'm doing it with you guys. But no, the origin of this came from like all great nerds. I'm a graphic designer by trade. I knew I wanted to be a graphic designer from the age of 17 when I won a local graphic design contest. I got my picture in the paper and I got, I think $100. And I thought, this is it. This is what I want to do for the rest of my life. So I've always collected ticket stubs. So I've got a box. I've got a cigar box at home of like old Van Halen concert tickets. I've got Atlanta Brave tickets when I used to go with my dad. I'm a huge UNC Tar Heel fan, so I've got multiple tickets. I actually have I'm going to geek out in sports a little bit.
Oh, good.
I actually have a Duke versus North Carolina. Dean Smith's, our legendary Hall of Fame coach, his last game that he ever coached. I have that ticket stuff, right? So about 3 years ago, it was over Christmas break, and I'm kind of rifling through all my ticket stubs, and I was just lamenting the fact that we don't have tickets anymore. There are no design tickets anymore. Everything is on your phone, right?
I didn't even think of that.
It really bothers me. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan. My wife is, but if I dropped $2,000 to go see Taylor Swift,
I did that.
Did you get a physical ticket? So it's on your phone.
You know what though? I have it on my phone, but I never even put this together. If you were like one of the lucky few to get the VIP tickets, it came with this box. And the box included these postcards and a couple other things and a ticket that you couldn't use.
Well, good on Taylor. Good,
right.
I'm glad she's bringing back that. But it
wasn't a real ticket. It's just like you could frame it with one of the postcards, but that was the only way you could get a ticket is if you were one of the, 100 people that got the VIP deal.
The woman knows her audience.
That's right. Yeah. But, there's something about that ticket stub. Like every one of these things I was rifling through, I had a direct memory to that, right? It's that Van Halen concert that I saw in 1991. I was with my best buddies from high school. I can remember exactly where we sat. I remember the song where Eddie Van Halen pointed at me in the crowd and he was pointing at me. So, can
you remember the smell of smoke?
Oh, absolutely.
That was back when we smoked at concerts.
That's right. But yeah, so I was going through some of my old ticket stubs over a Christmas break, and it was about that time I said it's time to do the rite of passage for my children. It's time to take them through the Rocky movies, right? I feel like that's what every American father needs to take them through the Rocky movies. So, so I'm taking them through it. And obviously I said, guys, the first one is going to be a little slow, right? It's more of a love story, but by the time he gets to fighting the Russian in 4, you're gonna lose your mind.
Yeah.
So it was about part 3 exactly. I think you guys kind of covered this in the intro. It was about part 3, and I'm watching the rematch between Rocky and Clubber Lang, right,
Yeah,
Mr. T, at Madison Square Garden, and my graphic design brain went off and go, wow, I bet that ticket stub was pretty epic, right? I bet that ticket looked awesome. And that's when this light bulb kind of went off in my head, like, is that a thing? Like, have people actually done these? So after the movie, I went and Googled, and I didn't really run into anything, right? I'm like, okay, maybe this is a thing. So I designed, the first ticket I designed was for Rocky 3, and,
and for no reason. There was no client.
It just needed to exist.
That's right. And I guess the way my brain is wired, I just love creating things. That's why I'm an art director. That's why I work in advertising. I love making things just for no reason. And so, I started making several of these. I made Rocky 3. I made, what was my next one? Hoosiers. I did Bull Durham. I did the Mighty Ducks. And I just, I'm like, this, I could go on and on with this. And I started having people on social media reach out to me like, dude, I need a poster of this. Can you send me one of these? Can you make me a printout? So I went from, hey, let's make cool stuff just to make cool stuff to, well, maybe there's something here, right? Like maybe there's a bigger idea here. And that's when I had this idea to make a book. And so just dug in, started reading about how to pitch a book, how to put together a book proposal. And the original idea was I wanted just to make a coffee table book of nothing but ticket
love
stuff,
it.
right?
Love it.
Yes,
nothing but ticket stuff.
Yes.
But when publishers got involved, they were like, it's cool, but you need a little more meat on the bone, right? And so that's where I went and found my author, Kyle Bandujo. He's great. He was running a podcast actually out of he lives in Texas. I'm in South Carolina. We've actually never met.
I've met him in person. That's how I found out about this book. Yeah. So he is actually, shout out to his show. It's Big Screen Sports, the sports movie podcast.
That's right.
Is that so? Had you listened to the podcast and you're like, let me just call this guy and see if he wants to write something?
That's right. I was reaching out to different sports writers and movie critics that I thought might be right for this. Was getting no traction. And I was on a way to a camping trip, and I downloaded a ton of podcasts to listen to, and I started listening to Kyle. I'm like, this dude's great. So I got back to work that next week, sent him an email and with my proposal and said, hey, I got a couple of publishers interested in this. You want to go co-write this thing with me? And he wrote me back within an hour and said, I'm down. This is great. Let's go do this thing.
Yeah, that's how me and Matt started a podcast.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so I want to give people a sense of what this looks like because it does have a coffee table book feel, but
it is a coffee table book for sure.
Let's start with Karate Kid. I think that's a good place to start.
Yep.
There's multiple pages on each movie. What is it? What was your part? How did this come together? Like, explain what an entry for one of these 26 movies is like.
Yeah. Actually, I'm going to flip to the Karate Kid page here in a little bit. But yeah, I mean, basically, once we got a publisher
176,
involved,
something like that.
I should know that. I should know that off the top of my head.
Ladies and gentlemen, turn your hymnals to page 172, maybe.
That's right. So, once we got a publisher involved, our publisher, shout out to Quirk Books, they were super collaborative, and they actually brought more ideas to the table. Our publisher kept going, guys, this is great, but is there more to unpack, right? Can we dive deeper? And let's go further beyond just a ticket stub. And that's when the big light bulb went off, right? So that's where Kyle and I would sit down. It's like, all right, what else can we make visually? So each chapter is a movie, and within each movie we have key components. So each one has a fictional trading card, and the way we design those are kind of like minimalist movie posters. So I don't know if you guys know what that is, but that was a trend about 10 years ago.
I love that trend. Yes, absolutely.
Right? They're super fun. So the idea is, how can you sum up the movie or the plot of the movie or the theme of the movie in the most simplest way possible? So for our Karate Kid one, It's a trading card of the chopsticks catching the fly, right?
Yeah,
That
so
iconic
good.
moment, right? We also have obviously our ticket stubs. So for me as a designer, and this is where I'm going to geek out, for each one of these films, I wanted them to be as realistically, as real as possible, right? As far as my Photoshop skills could take it. And so, I would look at, so Karate Kid came out in 1984. That's when the movie took place. So I looked at ticket stubs of just different sporting events during the 80s. What were popular font typefaces during the 80s? What were color schemes? How were they printed? What were the sizes?
Yeah.
Kerning, all of that.
Because a
meant
lot
something.
of this has to do with like even equipment. Like I don't really think about tool and die makers often, but like the actual printers were not digital printers. You had to go to an offset printer with a design file, and there's only going to be certain sizes that the cutters. So I think there's so much to this.
And I also was thinking too, is like, okay, this is a local high school tournament.
Yes, exactly.
They're not going to spend a ton of money on, holographic printing or anything like that.
Right.
So I really went deep on
that is fantastic.
A lot of it.
Tell me some of your research stuff there. Like, where is it all Google? Like, how did you?
It's mostly all Google. And then I think just my background as a designer, right? So, if a typeface was popular in the 80s, it wasn't maybe not necessarily a great typeface, right? So I didn't want these things to look cheap. I wanted these things to, if you were to print them out, they would look awesome on your wall. So, so it was a balance of looking at what was popular, but then also, but I really want this to be a classic typeface, like a Universe or a Helvetica.
So what's the one for Karate Kid? I was just gonna say, was that a Helvetica year? Was that Ariel? What's the sans serif?
Yeah, the sans serif
story.
On All Valley on that is that absolutely is. I'm looking at it now. That is Helvetica. So good call there. But then on the back, right? And so and that was one thing I hadn't even considered originally, that our publisher was like, hey, have you considered what the backs of these things look like? And I'm like, oh my gosh, that opens up so much more stuff. So on the back of the Karate Kid, right? So if it's a high school tournament, obviously they would be sponsored by some local business. So if you remember in the movie, he goes to an amusement park called Golf and Stuff, right?
Yes.
So we went back and watched the film. I'm taking freeze frames of the movie of what's actually on that sign. So it's, Golf and Stuff, Family Fun Center, arcade games and prizes. That's what's actually on that sign. So I redesigned that, and then I'm going to go really deep here. I'm going to go really deep.
Yeah.
If you know Karate Kid, and this always bugged me, his mom, they drive all the way from Newark, New Jersey to California for a job.
Yeah.
Which is a long drive.
That's a long drive. Relocates everything. When she goes to her job, she's like managing a steakhouse or something. I'm like, that's you moved all the way. But it didn't make the cut. Apparently in the novelization, she takes a job with a computer company called Rocket Computers. And apparently the scene didn't make the movie. So I made up a logo for Rocket Computers, this fictional company.
You guys, I am saying no way because I am looking at the back of this ticket. Who would know this?
Nerds.
Oh my God. My literal favorite part of watching a movie is when you go onto IMDb and there's all the Easter eggs and the bloopers.
Yeah.
And that is such a good one. Oh my God. If you're anything like me, online quizzes might be your guilty pleasure. That's why I am so excited to announce the Autistic Culture Quiz. It's fast, it's fun, and it's pretty to look at. But best of all, it might just change how you see yourself. Take it right now at bit.ly/autisticculturequiz. If you've ever felt like you just get autistic culture, but you don't know how to explain it, this quiz will help you explain autism from a non-medical perspective. Each question is based on one of the 10 pillars of autistic culture. Take the quiz now and improve your cultural competency. It's totally free. Just go to bit.ly/autistic culture quiz. And autistic culture quiz is all one word, all lowercase. This is the way.
So we did that, and then obviously another one we wanted to do was kind of like a play map diagram of either the climactic game or a training sequence or whatever. So we wanted to design them kind of like a football coach would design with X's and O's and stuff. So for Karate Kid, obviously the big climactic one is the final battle with LaRusso and Lawrence. And so again, it was a matter of watching the movie kind of on repeat, freeze framing it to figure out where did Johnny hit him, or what part of the mat was he? When did he land a point? When did LaRusso land a point? So it's fairly accurate. When you look at it's a very simple little diagram, but it's fairly accurate to where which combatant landed a point, and then obviously the big controversial crane kick happening right there in the middle of the mat.
Exactly. I'm glad. Oh God, I'm glad somebody noticed. Oh, good. Okay. Yes. Good. Yes. Oh, good.
Yes. I think again, I haven't gone too deep into Cobra Kai series. I enjoy it. I was writing a book, so I kind of got behind on it. But I think they joke around about the controversial kick face, because I think you kind of said it in the intro. It's like no hitting to the face. Right, they set that up in the rules, and then he kicks him right in the face and wins. So I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes.
That's right. Right. And so then, just to finish out the section, so fictional trading cards, fictional ticket stubs, play maps, and then we would have a thing in there if we had room called a +1, right? And that could be really anything. So as you go through the book, like, we have a fake advertisement for Slapshot for the Hanson brothers, because in that movie they put on tinfoil on their hands. So we had a fake ad for Bad News Bears. We have a cocktail recipe that Walter Matthau might make. But for this one, we have the healing hands of Mr. Miyagi, right? And so this one is, again, it's a very tongue-in-cheek. They never explain how the heck you do that and what that does when he does his rubbing of the hands. So we did a fun little breakdown of just, here's how you do it, and then you can go heal people. So just funny little things that we could unpack that hopefully just, this is a book that you can read, or you can just look at the pictures and have fun with it.
Yeah, it's almost like a magazine in that there's like little snacks. You don't have to like sit down and carve out multiple hours or keep it by your bedside. It's like a good bathroom read. Like you can just do one movie. It's very pick up, put downable.
That's right. That one of the things that we talk about when people ask me how you read it, I'm like, well, okay, if you've seen Rocky IV 87 times like I have, and you were saying you've seen Top Gun, right?
A lot of Top Gun.
And you know it backwards and forwards, then go to that section and you can read it right away. But if it's been a while since you've seen Days of Thunder, go watch the movie and then come back and read the book section, and then it'll be a lot more work, because what we want to do is just really unpack the movie more. We're just huge fans of movies and sports movies are probably me and Kyle's favorite genre, right? Like when a sports movie is done right, nothing can top it. It gives you that big chill moment, makes you want to jump off the couch and cheer. And so, when a movie's great, you kind of you don't want the movie to end. You kind of want to live in that movie a little while and unpack it. So that's what we try to do with these films.
Yeah, because that's the thing about having the relics. You get to have a tangible piece of that thing that you love, of the experience. Yeah, even with a concert ticket, you get to bring a concert ticket home and say, "Yes, I was actually there. This is a visceral reminder of that experience."
That's right.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. I have some other questions about, like, just looking at the Karate Kid ticket just to start with here. So. Sure. My first question is, how did you come up with the price? Like, is that what?
Great question. Great question. So I did. So for some of the ones that were more like professional,
you could find similar.
You could find similar
Major
price
League
points,
2
but
or something.
I'm sitting there thinking about Karate Kid. It's a high school tournament. come on, you know, what, so $6, I think is what I've got on. Yeah, $6.
Yeah.
That sounds reasonable for 1984 to watch an all-day karate tournament.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, and the other thing is one of my favorite things about finding old tickets, because I don't have it as a collection. It's not a collection thing for me, but I put them everywhere. I never just throw them
Yep.
out. So they're always
Yep.
surprises. And then they have weird stains on them, or they're aged,
right.
or certain words just disappeared.
Yep.
These look aged. They look like somebody had it in their pocket and then they sent it in to you and you took a picture of it.
That is, I'm so glad you picked up on that. Yes. I put a lot of, you know, designing the ticket was one thing, but then taking it into Photoshop and doing all the effects and the stains and the crinkles and the wrinkles.
Yeah. How do you do that? So did you design it brand new and then layer on effects or something? What's the process?
So I would go into, I would build everything rough it out clean in like Adobe Illustrator, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything's clean and kerned and looks perfect. And then once I got that in a good spot, I would go into Photoshop, and I've got tons of little brushes and filters and, you know, stains and you know, perfed lines and stuff like that I would go in there. And but yeah, I'm really glad you guys picked up on that, because that took that's where a lot of the that's where I would get very meticulous on, is this too much? Is it too little?
Yeah.
Right. And it's funny that it's funny that you brought that up, because originally, and I probably shouldn't be saying this, my publisher might get mad. Originally, we pitched this book as like point of view stories of someone who is actually in the crowd.
Oh.
Like if these were real, like, so for Rocky IV, right, that took place in Moscow, right, on Christmas Day, right? So we thought, we had this whole story about, this is, you know, this was in some ex-KGB's pocket. You know, he was a guest of the Kremlin to come watch this game, and we wanted to write it from his point of view, right?
Like, oh my God,
like it was his ticket.
That's right. So like, what was it like? Kind of like we were interviewing him, right? Like, so like, what would, you know, and obviously he's not pulling for Rocky, right? So the whole time I'm pulling for Drago, right? And so we kind of flip it, right? And so that's how we wanted to write this book. And honestly, that's how we pitched it. And our publisher was like, that's great, go do that. And I bet we worked on this for about 3 months. And then we got an email from our publisher, said, hey, can you guys jump on the phone with us? And we jumped on the phone and said, yeah, I kind of ran this by the lawyers, and I don't think we're going to be able to do that.
Because you have to license so many things, because you're technically writing fiction for all of those universes.
That's right. Because he, you know, it's like, well, they could, you know, I mean, they're doing it right now, right? Like Happy Gilmore 2, after 25 years has been announced, and they're making it. So they're like, you'd be stepping on copyright material. So we had to pivot. So we pivoted, and now it's more of just I don't want to say just it's a great commentary. It's commentary and analysis, right, on these films.
Still good.
Wow.
I very much appreciate the approach that you were going to take there, because that is
it borders on fan fiction.
One of my most favorite things that I just recently got a book called Tobin's Spirit Guide. And,
from Ghostbusters.
Yeah, from Ghostbusters. Yeah. For 40 years, never existed. Somebody, Magnolia Publishers, decided to make it completely unlicensed, right? So it includes all of the ghosts from the movies, from the animated series, from the comics, but also regional ghosts. But they decided to go a step further and include every fictional ghost that exists. So in Tobin's Spirit Guide, you can look up Beetlejuice or Gremlins or Bill Cipher or...
Brilliant.
There is no way that this would ever pass any legal thing, and I'm sure that they're going to be shut down at any moment. But because of that, it is one of my favorite relics of all time, because you can legit go in and look up, again, Beetlejuice now canonically exists within the Haunted Mansion ghosts from Disney in Tobin's Spirit Guide. So the Ghostbusters could, in theory, bust all of these ghosts.
That's fantastic.
It's that being in God, that would have been magnificent. I totally appreciate why you weren't able from a legal standpoint, but God, I massive respect for the plan to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, I think I really truly believe we have a stronger book because we wouldn't have been able to unpack a lot more of the stuff that we had because it was really just here's a ticket and here's a story, right?
Yeah,
And I think where we got now, it's just it opened up the well for so much other content, right? So, so now. Not just to talk about the visuals, Kyle did a phenomenal job with the writing. And so, the way each book is kind of broken down is, we first off, if you've never seen Karate Kid, the first thing you see is a movie breakdown, right? So this is basically how the movie, the overall plot of the movie without getting into spoilers. Then we focus on a game aspect, right? So what game or what event are we going to dive deep in and kind of break down? And so obviously in Karate Kid, it was the championship. And then, he does a lot of really fun stuff with, then we do a breakdown. Then we have a section called an MVP, right? So out of this whole movie, who was the greatest character? Who was the best out of all of them, right? And so obviously we named Mr. Miyagi as the MVP in the Karate Kid.
How could you not?
And then we have a fun little section called "Were they good at their job?" Right? So we take a character or someone. Were they good here? And to your point, I won't spoil it. You got to read the book. But the question he asks here is, were they good at their job? The All Valley doctor and the All Valley referees, right? And so I think we said that the doctor was not good at his job because this dude's fractured whatever, and he sends him back out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Fired.
That's right.
That's a good breakdown. I love that. Well done.
I want to talk about the collaboration piece because you've brought it up a few times here, and it sounds like it was smooth, but one of the things I think that is often challenging in autistic culture is we go so deep and we're so far down the rabbit hole. We've already figured all this stuff out. And then when we tell someone else, they're maybe can't catch it as fast or have different ideas. So did you guys each take a movie and kind of own the movie, or did one person take the lead, or how did the collaboration piece go?
Yeah. So once we kind of dialed in our structure, right, and honestly, that was a lot of us going back with our editor at Quirk, right? Like, here's what's going to be in each section, right? Here's how we're going to break it down: the game, the breakdown, an MVP. Then we kind of went in and figured out what our key design elements would be, right? So the ones I already went through, tickets and play maps and all that stuff. And so then once we got that, it was really me and Kyle. It was just honestly, it was so fun. Kyle and I, we would say, hey, dude, we put together a workflow. We had our 25 movies that we wanted to go through, and we're like, hey, are you feeling Slapshot this weekend? Yeah, let's watch Slapshot this weekend. So we would watch the film, not together. We'd watch it separately, and we would just compare notes. And it's like, hey, I was thinking about what if we do this for our visual. And he might lob something over, or if it was this. So it truly was.
Wow, that's super collaborative. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just fun. I mean, this book, the way Kyle and I wrote it, it's kind of like, if you go to a movie with your buddies and then afterwards you go out for a beer or a cup of coffee and you just talk about it, right? Yeah. And you break it down. That's kind of how we work. And that's kind of what this book is. Just a breakdown with your buddies. Sometimes it's a little snarky. Sometimes it's, more reverent, like Teen Wolf is a great example. Teen Wolf is a terrible movie, but
it's not a great movie,
but it's just, there's something about it that's just so wholesome and great, but there's so many questions to ask there. It's like, first off, a kid turns into a werewolf in front of a packed gymnasium, and no one questions that.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. They're just totally
we're
cool
just
with
going with that.
We're cool with it. And so, again, another one of our little plus ones in that was like, okay, if that really happened, every college coach in America would be wanting to come look at this kid, right? Because he's playing basketball like, you know, Dr. J. So in that section, we actually have a scouting report from a blue blood college, and they show a scouting report of what he's like and what his skills are and what his pros and cons are. Another thing we talked about was that kid would obviously have a shoe deal, right? Like everyone's got a shoe deal.
Of course.
So what would Teen Wolf's shoe look like? And sidebar on that. That particular image is near and dear to my heart. My youngest son is a budding artist as well. He loves to draw, and he's a sneakerhead. So I said, hey, go draw what Teen Wolf sneaker would look like.
Nice.
And he came back to me in a couple of weeks with some designs, and I said, all right, it's in the book. So I kind of took his design and spiffed it up a little bit, you know, did my magic on it. And
okay, so for people who aren't looking at the book, can you describe the shoe? I will test your.
Yes. So I should know it.
131 maybe.
So it's based on. Here we go. It is based on an Air Jordan 1 model, because, you know, obviously this came out in '85.
Yeah.
Right. So okay, I'm gonna geek out again.
Go for it. Yes, bring it.
Okay. So it's based on a Jordan 1 design. So that's it. It's got the Beavers colors, right? So that's the high school he played for. So it would be yellow and blue. Instead of the Nike swoosh, we've got a big, you know, swoosh W, right? This is about the time, you know, mid '80s, late '80s is when sneakers were getting very gimmicky, right? And all the stuff they put in
the
them.
roller skate sneakers.
That's right. So you know, Nike had the Air Max little bubbles. Well, we've got the Moon Max, right? So tie into the
nice.
And then if you remember the Reebok pumps, right? So
I had those.
Yeah,
you would pump them up.
So we've got a moon pump. So this sneaker has moon pump
good.
technology. And then obviously it has to be fur lined. So inside of it, it's werewolf fur. But then we ended up cutting this because we didn't think anybody would get it. The shoe manufacturer, right? It wasn't we had a whole story. This got cut out. Nike, Adidas, Converse all pitched Teen Wolf concepts, but he ended up signing with Sidelines. Is it Sidelines? Sidelines. And our publishers were, well, what's that? We're like, oh, that was the fictional sneaker company that Steve Martin owned in Father of the Bride.
Oh, oh, yes. Yes.
That is a crossover season. That is
that is
season.
good. That is good.
Wow.
That's well done. Well done.
So
I love the multiple references. Yes.
That's right. Right. So that one didn't make the cut. You know, a good, you know, obviously we didn't do this near as well, but what's Ready Player One, right? Like that.
Yes.
That's the holy grail of how he was able to work in all this pop culture. It was a stew of pop culture stuff in that book. So.
Oh yeah.
That's kind of the vibe that we were sort of aiming for in this thing.
I'm impressed. That is. That makes me feel good to know that you went that deep and that you put this much thought into the design, into the universes, and into living in these universes. That is the way.
Well,
yes.
there's that great line in Seinfeld where I think he's sitting on a plane and he's spewing out all this pop culture nonsense to this supermodel. He's like hitting on her, and she's like, "You know a lot about nothing." And I'm like, I feel like that's me and Kyle. We have a database of just worthless stuff that helps us nowhere in the world. And then we found an outlet for it, right?
Yes.
With this book. It's like,
now someone's going to pay you for it.
That's right.
What's your favorite one in here that we haven't talked about so far? What was your favorite, either movie or just what you did with the artwork and the storytelling?
Yeah. So my favorite sports film ultimately did not make the cut, and I think that might be where Kyle and I maybe butted heads a little bit. And again, when I say butted heads, it was very minor.
Yeah.
But my favorite sports movie of all time is Hoosiers.
Great
Gene
movie.
Hackman,
Great movie.
right? I mean, it's fantastic.
Yes.
I grew up watching it, but we didn't include it because, well, it's loosely based on a true story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there was this. They weren't Hickory. I forgot their name. But in 1950, whatever, they played, the big school out of Indianapolis and beat them. So it's loosely based, but they changed all the characters and stuff. And I'm like, it's fiction enough. Let's put it in the book. And he's like, no, we're breaking our rule. If it actually happened, we didn't put it in the book. So that's my favorite sports movie of all time.
Good choice.
The movie that I came to respect more after this book was The Bad News Bears.
I loved that one as a kid.
It was a little taboo when it came out when I was a kid because, for a PG movie, it's got some pretty hard language in it.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, you're not. So I only got to see little bits and pieces of it growing up. And then I went back and revisited it for this book, and probably since then I've watched it, 2 or 3 more times. It's Walter Matthau is just off the charts great in that. Some research that we found doing the book. So that movie was written by a guy named Bill Lancaster, right? He only wrote 2 scripts in his entire career. He wrote John Carpenter's The Thing, which masterpiece by itself, and he wrote The Bad News Bears. And apparently he based the character of Walter Matthau's character off of his father, who was Burt Lancaster, Hollywood.
Oh, wow. I never knew that.
So apparently, Burt Lancaster was a grumpy, half-drunk Little League coach. So I think revisiting that was really great for me. It's so good. The dialogue is so great. Matthau is just, his performance in that is amazing. His chemistry with Tatum O'Neal is great. So in that one of the fun things that we wanted, even though this book has a structure, we wanted there to be surprises, right? We wanted there to be little things in there. Bono once said, from U2, said, a great song should surprise you. There should be something in every song that you didn't expect. And so we kind of want to do that with this book. So when we were kind of, what are we going to put in here besides the ticket stub and whatever for Bad News Bears? And we said, well, what about a cocktail recipe, right? Because Walter Matthau is constantly drinking martinis or beer, right? So we said, all right, let's put a cocktail. So I have a good friend who used to be a professional bartender, and I showed him. I said, go watch Bad News Bears for me, and come back to me with a cocktail recipe. And he came back with one, and we called it the Buttermaker, but I think it's like cheap domestic lager mixed with peanut butter, schnapps or something with a squeeze of. It's not great, but it was funny and it works with the theme of the movie.
Yeah.
Hardest one that was like hardest to come up with ideas for. Which one that we'll never know without your behind the scenes here. Flipping through it looks normal, but
I think I have 2. Bend It Like Beckham. Great movie.
Love that.
Great
One of my
movie.
favorite movies of all time. Mm-hmm.
But it's really more of a rom-com, right? With a little bit of sports thrown in there. So that one was a little harder to pull some stuff out of. It didn't feel as rich. I think what we found were anything with Will Ferrell or Adam Sandler in it, there's just so much stuff to unpack. You could do a million things. So Bend It Like Beckham was a little harder. But there is one great little illustration in there, and I think it's kind of. Have you guys seen the movie, or do you remember?
Yeah, I love that movie so much.
So there's a great scene in there where the daughter and the dad are trying to explain offsides in soccer.
Mm-hmm.
But they're doing it with a salt shaker. Right. So we thought we have to put that in there. So there's a little illustration in there for that. And then I think another one is The Replacements, another Gene Hackman film with Keanu Reeves. It has a huge following. People love it. it just didn't hit for me, right? Like
Yeah.
it was one of those that I've seen and we put it in because there's such a huge following. So for me, it was just a little harder to pull stuff out of. But anything with Sandler, Happy Gilmore, what's the other one we got? The Water Boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then Talladega Nights, right, with Will Ferrell.
Yes.
I mean, those movies have so many jokes and so many visual gags. Like for Talladega Nights, I felt like we could write a whole book on that. You know, Kyle kept saying, "No, we got enough. Yeah, but what if we did this? What if we made this?" So that one was a lot of fun as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What one did your publisher like send back the most or required the most revisions? Did anybody like catch any errors, or they're like, that's not a good?
Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Like what?
Well, no. They didn't send back any. There were really no notes. Well, I will say this. So once we got the manuscript written, the way we started building is like we knew what visuals we were going to go into, and Kyle knew what he was writing, and so we were kind of working kind of in silo, right? Like he would go write the content, I'm over here building stuff, we're sharing stuff back and forth. So once he got the final manuscript blessed by the client with no visuals in it, right? It's just copy, all blessed. They came back to me and said, "Okay, Rick, here's the approved edited manuscript. You've got 2 weeks, lay the book out." And I laid the book out and it was over 400 pages. And we sent it back to the client. He's like, "Guys, this is not Gone with the Wind here. We can't put out a 400-page book." So we had to do a lot of editing and a lot of cutting. So, several movies fell out, and this is another fun part of the book. At the very back of the book is a section called The Bench, right? And so these are movies that didn't quite make the cut, but we have ticket stubs for. So I'll flip back there. So we have Semi-Pro with Will Ferrell, Victory, which was one of my favorite childhood classics with Stallone and Michael Caine, right, where they're in the prisoner of war camp. It's Great Escape with soccer. And if you've never seen it.
No, I've never seen this. And we're a big soccer household over here.
Fantastic
Victory?
movie called Victory.
All right.
And I think in Europe, I think it was called Escape to Victory. It had 2 names.
Interesting.
Okay.
But if you've never seen it, the one that broke our hearts that didn't make the cut, we just felt like it was too much of a cult classic, was Warrior with Tom Hardy. If you've never seen Warrior,
I have not.
Go watch it today and make sure you've got some fresh Kleenex, because you will be crying like a baby at the end of it. It is
Wow.
To Kyle and I, it is the modern day Rocky.
Oh,
and
really?
It came out and it just didn't find an audience. But if you go on anywhere on social media, you'll hear people talk Warrior, Warrior, Warrior. I think if you go on Letterboxd, I mean, it's just fantastic reviews. So if you like Tom Hardy and you like Rocky and Michael Caine, no, not Michael Caine. Is it Michael Caine? No, Nick Nolte. Sorry, Nick Nolte gives I think I should know this. I think he was nominated for an Oscar.
Oh, really?
I think, but he gives a phenomenal performance in this film. So that one was a heartbreaker. We just felt like not enough people knew about it, and it didn't make the cut. So we have a whole bench section back there that didn't quite make it.
And is there more in the archives for those? Like, did you just have the tickets, or did you have everything? And
no, a lot of them I had everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, Victory, I had a whole. So again, I won't spoil it, but it's a Great Escape, right? If you've ever seen The Great Escape, they're digging tunnels and stuff, trying to escape. So I had a whole map designed of how they are trying to escape this thing, and it didn't make the cut.
I feel like if all of our listeners rush out right now and buy Movies with Balls, there could be a Movies with Balls too.
Movies with Balls squared. Yes, that's how we. Yeah.
All right.
I like what you did there. Well done. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
We want that. We would love that. We have a ton of stuff in our back pocket that didn't quite make it, but would love to have it see the light of day.
We know you love sports. We know you love sports movies. We know you collect tickets. tell us something else you love, collect, or deep dive on.
Ooh,
What are your
well,
other special interests?
yeah, I collect a lot of like print posters. I love letterpress, but I drive my wife crazy because I always have to have some kind of creative outlet side project, right?
Of course.
And so a couple years ago, I really got into linoleum cutting, right? Like making
Ooh.
old linoleum, printing press. I read up on how to make. So I don't have a printing press, but I read up online how to make a printing press out of a car jack, and I built one of those in my garage. And so there for a while I was doing these little lino cuts and printing them out in my garage, and I had a little Etsy store there for a while, and that just became a lot of work. I went through a phase where I got into leather craft. I needed a new wallet, and I'm like, well, I can make one.
I'll just make it.
I'm just going to make one, and it turned out awesome. And then I just started making stuff, right? Like I made my little headphone thing here.
Oh, nice.
That's lovely. Yes.
So again, had a little Etsy store, had people hitting me up. Hey, can you make me a knife sheath, or can you make me a wallet or a card holder? And then I guess, again, the way I'm wired, like, okay, I lost interest in that, and I moved on to other things. So now I think, I got into woodworking there for a while, because I'm a big sports guy. A friend of mine called me up years ago and said, "Hey, I know this college gym, and they're ripping out their entire
bleachers?
No, they're ripping out the floor.
Oh,
right. They're putting down a whole." And he's like, "Do you want any of these sections?" I'm like,
yes.
So I went. I drove this truck with a big trailer all the way down to Raleigh, North Carolina. And as these guys are cutting up these giant sections of this floor, I'm loading them in the back of a trailer. Drove them to my parents' house and stored them in their barn. And there for several years, I was making these really cool benches and tables out of gym floors, right?
Oh.
And so they would have the 3-point line, or they'd have part of the logo, and it was really cool. And I was selling them at a couple of little shops, vintage stores and stuff here around town. Again, it's just I lost interest in it and moved on to something else. Yeah. And so now, knock on wood, I think hopefully it's making more books. Kyle and I are kicking around more ideas of other things that we want to make in the book world.
Amazing.
That's really cool. I'm very impressed, and that's the thing about it, because once you master something and you've got that achievement, and you're like, yes, I've done this. What else can I do? What else could I do? What else? I don't understand like how people can be satisfied with some plateau and say, yeah, this is where I'm at. Because that's the neat thing about like what we do with like the podcast and advocacy and work and everything. There's always something higher to say, oh, hey, I wonder if I could do that next. And chasing that is just, God, that's the way.
I guess there's that. I'm not a doctor, but is it dopamine? It's like that little dopamine hit that you get when you make something that you put so much passion in.
Yeah.
And you're like, you can live off that little high for
achievement
for a week
unlocked.
at a time.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. I can't stagnate like that. I have to.
But
I feel have like, something else to do.
Matt, this is a good time too to talk about monotropic flow and chicks at knee high.
Oh yes.
I think that's where that dopamine hit is coming. I'm just the psychology student now, so but I think that's where that a lot of times we're chasing, because being in monotropic flow is so regulating, right?
Yes, it is. It's a form of meditation for us. Because when we are in the state of making, that is all that exists in the world. We're doing that for hours and hours and hours at a time. And when we come out of it, I built a Gundam model kit, like the best possible model kit that you can get from the Gundam series, because why do anything else? Like a $300 kit. Took me maybe 4 days. Didn't sleep, didn't eat, didn't go to the bathroom. But oh my God, it was a great experience. And just the ability to build and create. There's nothing else like it.
That's right. That's right.
What if you got that hit from small talk, talking about the weather? Wouldn't that be great? You'd be like, look, it's a nice day. And you'd be like, oh, look, connection. No. We don't.
Somebody's got a
might
case
be-
of the Mondays.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. Oh my goodness. Well, Rick, do you have any Etsy stores live? I know we're sending people in the show notes. First of all, you can go to anywhere you get books. We love
Oh, wait.
bookshop.org, but Movies
Ah,
with
yes.
Balls,
Ooh.
there it is on the screen if you're watching the video. If you are on audio, imagine the best book cover ever. And the only way you'll know what it actually looks like is if you go to bookshop.org or Amazon or Barnes & Noble right now, type in Movies with Balls and you will see it. Anywhere else we can send people to? You still have your Etsy shop? What do you got?
Nope, took all the Etsy stuff down.
Don't
No,
bother
just
Rick. He doesn't
yeah,
have any free time. He's
yeah.
making movie tickets.
Yeah, my wife says don't give me any other ideas to.
Yeah. Okay, you
Um,
can't reach out to him, but what you can do is you can listen to his co-author's amazing
Yes.
podcast if you like sports movies and
Ted Lasso. He's also a big Ted Lasso guy.
Yes.
So I think they just announced the new season, right? So
Yeah.
he does I think special episodes in different weeks just around Ted Lasso. So
Oh my God.
movies, and he branches out as well, right? So it's not just sports films. They'll do rom-com. He'll do rom-com week, or he'll do action flick, months or whatever. But yeah, with Ted Lasso coming back, he'll definitely be hitting that.
There'll
really
definitely be that. Well, you can definitely check out that. It's Big Screen Sports. So just go to any podcast player, type in Big Screen Sports, and you will get to hear the voice we did not hear today from Kyle. But Rick, we are so grateful to you for being here.
Yeah, this was fun.
Sports and movies and monotropic flow are such great ways to regulate, to connect with fictional characters, and that bring happiness and joy, which is what it's all about. With that, I've got one question left, and that one is for you, Matt. You get to be in the hot seat. I'm going to ask you to tell us something you loved about being autistic this week.
Oh, man. I think that the past few weeks have really flown together because of the whole moving thing. But I do love the fact that it's weird because I bought dozens of the same type of box because that's how my brain works.
This is for moving?
Yes, for moving.
You like the boxes you bought for moving?
Yeah, because
okay, again,
when I put stuff in the boxes, I stack the boxes and I put them all up against the wall, so that I can eventually move it into a moving truck. And the ability to see all the boxes evenly put there, it just nice little squares, nice chunking. It makes it much more manageable to imagine moving literally everything I've ever owned from one location to another. But everything is in a nice, clean, right angled box. Labeled, of course
Same
it's labeled.
Size,
yes.
Nice labels. I also did a spreadsheet for my move, so each box was numbered, labeled on the outside with the room it was coming from and going to, but then you could click on the spreadsheet and see every single item inside each box.
Of course, because that way you know where things are, because losing things is just a maddening nightmare of hell. So yes.
Yeah. I literally don't tell Paul, I hope he's not listening. I lost my engagement ring in the move. I put it somewhere special. I went to the special place. I put it in my jewelry box and then in the box that the ring came in. And then I taped it there because I didn't want to lose it. And I went there this morning and I was like, oh, I think I don't normally wear my engagement ring. I just wear my wedding ring. And I was like, oh, I think I'll put my engagement ring on. And it wasn't in the box.
Oh,
and
man.
I'm like, I'm like, did I throw it out? I'm like, you can't go back because you don't own that house anymore. I can't go back to my house to look for it. Also, it's across an ocean.
That's the horror of the move. I can't leave anything behind or lose anything, and you have to take inventory. And yeah, it's
so much inventory. Oh, anyway, well, I love your pretty boxes. I am very, very grateful, Rick, for you giving us so much of your time so generously. Movies with Balls, everybody, go get the book and give this man a break from picking up new habits. He needs people to buy his book. Thanks for being here, Matt. I will see you on Tuesday.
See you on Tuesday.
Ciao.
Have a good one.
Bye, guys. All right.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Autistic Culture Podcast Advocacy Edition.
Be sure to tune in for our Autistic Culture episodes every Tuesday, where we celebrate autistic contributions to society, culture, and history.
For even more autistic culture, consider becoming a paid member for exclusive perks like live Q&A calls with us, a virtual writing circle, and our new Self-Defined Living course by Becca Laurie Hector.
Fun fact, Matt, it actually costs us $8 for every minute that people see or hear on the podcast. But our member pricing is just $8 a month.
What a bargain!
What a bargain! Buy 1 minute and get 500 minutes for free. Seriously, if you can afford this, we really appreciate your contribution. It makes all this possible.
And of course, the best way everyone can support what we are doing is to rate, review, share, and subscribe on Substack or your favorite podcast app.
This is the way.